Hello again over there, and welcome back to this another video on the Springboard playlist. And in this particular video, we are going to demonstrate how to test our API which we created in the previous video, and how to formulate the postman request, how to make sure that we formulate the request in the postman client and send the request to our application server. So in this, without having to waste a lot of time, let us go straight to the slide and see what we're going to cover. So we have already created in the previous video a symbol service where we created a service with a one method for adding the student. We created one logic, and then we implemented one endpoint controller, which we were able to create one endpoint controller, and this is the controller we created, slash endpoint, which was able to call the service. And now we need to lastly now test this API using the controller, the postman client I mean, and then we are going to formulate the request and then send the request to our application. So when the request is being intercepted by this endpoint controller, then this endpoint function is going to call the service layer, and the service layer is also going to call the JPA layer, repository layer, and then this JPA repository is going to call its methods, which will then interact with the database to ensure that we have persisted our entity in the way that we want to persist it. So without wasting our time, let us go to the postman, and we are going to formulate our request and send it. So you can see that I have already created the request. So in your postman, you need to ensure that you select post request, because when you look in our application, this endpoint is of the post mapping. We have annotated it with a post mapping showing that this is going to be a post request. And then you should also ensure that in your body you provide the student details of the type student, and you can see that this is the student details that we need to provide. We need to provide the registration number, the surname, first name, the last name, date of birth, and the course. And then the ID, we don't need to provide the ID because this is going to be automatically generated. And then we are not, you make sure that when you're providing your request, you also, the naming of the request is going to be the same as whatever field is going to be here. So let us go to our postman, and we are going to provide these details here. So we don't need to provide the ID, but rather we need to provide the registration number. So let us say the registration number of the student is EA21. The surname of the student is Osman. The first name is going to be John. The last name is going to be Kevin. Date of birth is maybe second of this, and then the course is going to be the BBIT course. All right. So let us send this request, and when you click on send, then this request is going to be received by, it is going to be intercepted by your controller here, which is in the student controller, and then you are going to extract the body, and you are going to call the service layer, which is now calling this service. And now when you call this service layer, the service layer will call the repository layer, which will now save this student which you have provided in your request. All right. So that is how you can see you have provided. You can see that here in your console, you can see that there is a SQL statement which says that you have inserted a new student record in these fields. So when you go back to your database and refresh your database, you can see that you go to this student table, and when you select all, you can see you have now one new record which has been recorded here. So guys, that's how you formulate a request in your postman, and how you send the request to your client, to your application. So that's all I want us to understand. In the subsequent lessons, we will still demonstrate how to formulate some more complex requests and how we can get some more formatted response. If we want to change the response of this to another type, we can do that. So we are going to see it in the upcoming lessons. So for now, we have been able to test and our endpoint is working well and fine. Otherwise, congrats and thanks to you for watching the content. I hope to see you in the next video. Otherwise, thanks for watching the content.